Hello, I am Two Fish Two Funk, and I would like to introduce myself to you specifically because I need your help. I am a disabled man with a traumatic brain injury that I got from a motorcycle accident that happened when I was 21 years old, and that has left me with massive amounts of brain damage. Brain damage affecting every single aspect in my life, every part of who I am, everything about me. But I will list off a bunch of minor disabilities which my brain damage gives to me, as well as other disabilities which I also got at the same time. So, first and foremost, though, I'll just start listing them off. I have double vision. I constantly see two of every object that I'm looking at, one more pronounced than the other, because my right eye tends to be more dominant than my left. You can see that my right eye is bigger, more pronounced, more strong. That's just because everything on my right side has always been bigger than on my left. But that seems to have gotten hyper exaggerated since my brain injury in 2006, because I crashed my motorcycle in September 1st of 2006, and I've been recovering ever since then. So I've completely lost all of my 20s. I wasn't able to grind like every other man grinds to build a future for themselves, find a mate, do anything like that. I was working on myself, recovering my abilities, and that's all beside the point. I was listing off my disabilities. So I have double vision, and second, I have short term memory loss. So if I'm not actively thinking about something, there's a very good possibility that I'll forget all about it within 5 minutes. I have extreme balance issues, especially if I'm trying to stand on one foot. Then I won't last more than half a second before I start toppling over one way or the other. Um, Balance issues. I've got nerve damage in my right shoulder, in my brachial plexus nerve, which is the nerve that innervates the muscles to move your arm out and away from your torso. And I've been recovering for a very good number of years, and so I've gotten okay at it, but if I need to, I'm going to enact another miracle, because I am a walking miracle. Everyone alive is a walking miracle. If you learn and study about the human anatomy, you will learn how every single organelle, every organ cell, every organ itself, every organ system, every organism, they all are just a very, very tiny microscopic thing that combines with a bunch of other objects to make a bigger, more solid object, and then they all create a bigger system, and then like an organelle to an organ cell to an organ system to an organism. And us as humans are organisms, just as like a dog is an organism, a cat is an organism, everything is an organism. And these are all just individual organisms on the planet. And this planet is in very dire straits. if somebody doesn't do something about this soon, then this world will go to hell or become hell. And because nobody else seems to be trying to do anything about it. Everybody else is only worried about themselves or how they can be comfortable till the end of days or whatever. Nobody is trying to save this planet. Except for, I don't know, those crazy vegans and all that, or tree huggers that are, I don't know, that's probably a bad subject to go down, but I'll just not talk about that right now. I think that I'm here to save this planet, to save this world. That's what God has put me here for. And I am probably the only one who can do it because of my miraculous life story. And I will begin telling you that life story right now. So, before I had my motorcycle accident, I had a regular life like anybody else, really. It was interesting and difficult and had a very great deal of interest to me anyway. And I'll tell you about that if somebody would show interest. But until now, or until then, I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole. My life really becomes interesting though when I had my motorcycle crash. And that was when I was 21 years old. Just 4 months after my birthday. And I had bought a Harley Davidson for my birthday as to treat myself for being old enough to drink alcohol. Yeah, stupid, I know. But that's beside the point right now because I'm now telling you about why my life is interesting now. And I woke up from a 10-week-long coma because I was sleeping for 10 weeks because I hit my head that hard. I mean, imagine hitting your head so hard that you've been knocked out for 2.5 months. And my body was broken, really, really broken. Like I broke 3 vertebrae in my spine, cracked my head open, and destroyed my nose enough to need plastic surgery. And then my brain got a whole bunch of damage, brain shearing, which is very severe because once you know about the anatomy in the brain, the gray matter surrounding the outside of the brain, that is probably the most important part because it controls, your motor functions, and mine was severely damaged because the inside of the brain, or the cranium, the inside of the cranium is not smooth. It has to be ridged and whatever else. It's not smooth because the brain matter itself is not smooth. So my brain was hit so hard that it scraped along the inside of this cranium, and it just did a whole bunch of damage, scraping along a rigid surface where my sensitive brain was, the gray matter on my brain was scratched and destroyed. But it was also the right side of my brain, so everything on my left side is spastic and uncoordinated. It's something I just can't handle or can't help, and it's always going to be that way. I can, work and maybe improve a little bit, but it will always have that as something that is a defining characteristic when I talk about myself or you see me or you meet with me, or whatever else, you will notice that my left side is spastic, uncoordinated, and just doesn't really move all that easily. Like, I can't hold, like, my water bottle here. This is a perfect example. See, I'm trying to hold it still. I really am. And I just can't do it. You can see how the water is just shaking and moving. It's because I can't hold it still. And it gets worse or harder sometimes depending on my concentration. And you can even tell by the way I'm speaking. I mean, my voice was also changed. I mean, everything about me was changed. My speech was changed. I had to learn to speak all over again. And I did a whole bunch of therapies, like physical therapy, that's to help me learn to walk again. Basically move. Occupational therapy, and that's usually more working with your hands. And speech therapy, and that's usually more working with your voice and speech and your mind. That's the more mental aspect of it. But anyway, I think that I have survived and recovered enough to travel to, because I've always been interested in China. So I was able to travel to China before I turned 30 years old. That was my goal. That's been my lifelong goal. So I actually did that and spent my 29th birthday in China because this is something I really wanted to accomplish, and I did it successfully. But I've also been very careful in that I have to prepare for everything because I don't want to fail. Failures is how you improve, though. So failing to me isn't necessarily that bad. Because if you fail, you've learned how not to do something. So that the next time you try, you can prepare against that. And maybe you will succeed. Most likely, though. Like how I've had to learn to run again. I failed a lot. Because I had to learn how to do everything. I mean, you have to think about learning to run again. That's another thing I want to tell you about. And I'm sorry, I'm kind of going abstract and kind of not really organized right now because it's not really how my brain works. But you see, how first I had to learn to crawl again, just like a baby. Because after I woke up from my coma, it was like pushing a reset button on life. I was a baby, a 21-year-old baby. But I also had all these disabilities working against me. Like my right arm, my right and dominant arm, has the brachial plexus, has the nerve damage in the brachial plexus nerve. So I can't really move my arm that well out and away from my torso. I have my short-term memory loss. I have double vision. I have difficulty balancing. These are all things that a natural human baby doesn't necessarily have these difficulties, but I did. And I had to learn to do everything all over again. So I crawled around. Well, in the hospital, they kind of gave me the best start that they could before I was actually discharged from the hospital. But I had to move in with my grandparents, and I would crawl around in my backyard. I still live with my grandparents right now because, well, I've had a very turbulent life since then. But coming home from Grandma and Grandpa's house has always been something I've been able to do. But anyway, I was crawling around my backyard, and At the time, there were 14 trees in the backyard. I think there are only 12 now, but here, I'll show you guys later, but I would crawl around the backyard, and then I was in a wheelchair at the time because I couldn't do anything beside sit or crawl, and that's no way to move around this planet. So after I got good enough after crawling, I had graduated to the walker, and that helped a lot. That got me up on 2 feet, so I wasn't sitting down all the time. And then I would walk and I would stumble from tree to tree to tree because I would count them as I would hit them. I would crawl to them, then I would stumble to them, and then I would hobble to them, and eventually I got to the point where I was just walking to them, and I would count them off as I'd walk to them, one at a time, and that was how I learned to walk again. And I failed a lot. Every time I would fall down, it was another failure. And so what did I do in every failure? Well, every single time I was like, okay, I took a wrong step and my foot didn't go where I told it to. This was something that I had to punish myself for. So what did I do? I dropped I was already down, so I didn't need to drop. But I would do 10 push-ups right there on the ground. And then I would get up and try again. And that was how I learned to walk again. And there's another story about every single lesson that I've had to learn in life again. I've got tons of those stories, tons and tons of them. But anyway, what I want to tell you here now is that I need to plead for your help because I am the only one I think who can save the world. And I will do this by inspiring everybody else in the world to use my philosophy of self-cultivation to improve themselves until they're the best version of themselves that they can be every person alive. And because if you're always working on yourself, you're not worried about taking what somebody else has. That's a part of what I think would really help with getting people to not fight with each other so much. But it also helps with how you can build something for yourself and be better, just be better. Because everybody wants to improve and get better in some way or another. They want more money. They need to improve themselves. You want more physical ability. You need to work out and improve yourself. You want more speed. You need to learn to run faster. Improve yourself. You want more intelligence. You need to improve yourself. Read more books. You need to do anything. That's the key to self-cultivation. Recognizing where you're deficient and then work on improving that. That is my philosophy. That is how I've been able to recover as well as I've been able to. And I think that this world is in very dire straits. And if nobody does anything about it, then this world will be hell. And how can we save this world? To me, there are three most powerful emotions or motivations in the world: love, hate, and faith. Those are the three most powerful motivations in this world. And to me, faith it's there, but I've never really been that strong in faith because my relationship with God is very personal. I talk to God. I have my own relationship with God, as I think everybody should. And hate, nobody wants hate unless you are a villain and want to do bad things in this world or take advantage of other people. That is something that is evil. Hate is no good. It is not going to save this world. It will destroy this world much more quickly than it's already destroying this world. Hate is destroying this world. But love is what can save this world, because love is how you show God that you love Him. How do you show God that you love Him? Because everybody loves God, unless you're a villain. You have to love God, and He loves to hear it when you pray to God, because no matter your religion, you are praying to God. When you pray for anything, when you want something, that voice in your heart, whatever it's speaking out, that's praying to God, in my opinion. And so, I was raised in a Christian family, and so how I recognize you show love to God is showing your love to your fellow man and His creation. What is His creation? His creation is the earth and everything on it. Every blade of grass, every tree, every animal, every dog, every cat, every horse, every pig, every seal, every whale, every fish. I mean, this everything in this world. You love it all, because in one way or another, it helps you. And or you can eat it, you can live in this ecosystem because of what they are doing in the ecosystem. I mean, it's the circle of life, really. I don't know that I can really describe it all that well, unless you really want me to go into all scientific ways about it. But even then, I don't even think I could adequately articulate the whole specifics of every life on this planet. And that is the goal that I have in this world, because I was raised in America in the 80s and 90s, and my mother always told me, because I was raised in Reagan's America. I remember her telling me, you can do or be anything that you want in life. If you work hard enough, you can do anything. You are gifted. You are in America. You are born in America in the golden age of this country. So, what I want to do is to save this planet. And how am I going to do that? I'm going to do that by saving America. And how am I going to save America? I'm going to save America by inspiring you. I'm talking to you to love your fellow man, to love everything. You need to love. Hate leads to ruin. Do not hate. And faith that can be manipulated by anyone in power to get their own goals or ends. Love is the goal. Love is how you show God that you love Him. You need to love your fellow man. And so I have been trying to find love, Because everybody wants love, right? They want somebody to love and care for them. And I've been trying to find love. And how have I been doing this? I've been doing this by... I went to China. And I thought that I would... Because I've always been interested in China. And Chinese culture. And Chinese people. And I even got a Chinese girlfriend or two because I lived there for 3 years. After I went there 2 times. I went there, dated around a little bit, and it was just reconnaissance to see how I would really like the country. And I was intrigued, so I went back. And then I stayed with a girlfriend for a little while, but she ended up just leaving me for another guy, some Chinese guy. And then I went back a 3rd time because, well, I was that invested in China. I mean, I speak moderately well in Chinese. I can anyway. So, this 3rd time that I went, I lived with a girl for almost 3 years. And I had to come back though because I ran out of money and my card was going to expire. I had to return to America. So this was in 2020, in the middle of this pandemic when it first came out, and it was very difficult to leave China because they were closed down. They were not letting anybody out, and I had to eventually find a way out, and I did so because I'm a persistent and, if I do say so myself, relatively creative person. So I eventually got home, and lucky thing that I did too, because 5 months later my mother passed away. And this destroyed me because I was raised by my single mom alone. And I had one other brother. She raised us both. And my brother was always more friendly with my dad, and he had a closer relationship with my dad. And I had a closer relationship with my mother. And she taught me everything in life. She taught me to be the good person that I think that I am. I hope you also agree that I'm a good person because I'm trying to do something good for you, good for your friend, your mother, your brother, your father, your everybody. I'm trying to help the world. And I just need some help. I need some help because I think that love is what is most needed in this world. And I need a woman to love me unconditionally, like my mom loved me. She loved me unconditionally, and because I had spats and fights with my mom sometimes. What kid doesn't, of course, but in the end, we loved each other, and so I'm searching for a woman to love me like unconditionally, like my mom did. And I will reciprocate that love, of course, because I have nothing but an overabundance of love in my heart. And I'm just trying to find someone worthy to be loved, like the way that I want our relationship to be. And I've done a lot of research about who I could find in this world and where I could find them. And I've searched in China, and that was a big trouble. I mean, sure, I was taken advantage of and used and abused, but I guess that's just Chinese culture, I suppose. That's just what they think about. They tend to be very selfish. And so I've been doing a lot of research, and what I found is that Filipinas are the ones that I want to, the woman that I want to love is a Filipina, because they just seem to have happiness and love figured out already. Their culture is full of happiness and love, and that's what I want in this world, and that's what's going to save this world is love. And for me, I think that I have an idea for a Filipina that I think I would really like to love, but I don't know how she would respond or anything yet. So I guess I will end this video now, because I'm not sure exactly what else to say. I've already introduced myself. I am Too Fresh Too Funk once again, and please remember that I need everybody in this world's help to improve yourselves and stop trying to take what anybody else has. Stop hurting each other and love each other. That is my message to you all. Thanks. I hope to see you again. Bye. Like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Goodbye.